As Hans Olsen has moved on to the corporate world, we're looking for the next great Utah sports radio talent.
There's something for everyone.
While we do that, you get stuck with this guy.
Hey, everybody, here's our star.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, let's get it, folks. You are listening to 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Scott Gerard. Jake Scott back in studio. Hey, Jake, how are you?
Scotty G, what's up, buddy?
Oh, man, just another day in paradise.
Yeah, where are you, Albuquerque?
I am in Albuquerque. And I'm going to tweet out the details on this a little bit later on after I leave this hotel. But I was telling Lloyd that I caught a late flight, got in about 11 o'clock last night, and I'm in my Uber headed to the hotel, and my driver, who is a longtime Albuquerque resident, I think he's a lifer, born and raised, and he's well into his like 50s or 60s, and he said, I know where you're going. I am going to try to talk you out of it. And he went on and on about how I should not stay in this hotel. And I said, what, is it in a rough part of town or what? He's like, no, it's haunted. And I was like, okay, come on. Just take me to the hotel. He's like, no, you need to stay somewhere else. I will take you. Don't worry about the extra fare. I will take you to another hotel. And I said, no, it's fine. I think I'll be okay. So I end up coming here, and I'm checking in, and I told the young woman at the front desk, I'm like, have you heard people talk about this place being haunted? And she's just like, yes. Yeah, there's a lot of rumors around here. She goes, but I've worked here for 5 years. I haven't seen anything crazy. She goes, I've heard a couple things weird, but I've never seen anything. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I did a little Google search, and sure enough, I mean, this thing lit up the Google like a Christmas tree when I typed in the hotel and haunted. There's all kinds of stories about this place. So, but, look, I made it through last night. No big deal. No red rum. No two twins staring at me in the hallway. No old lady in the bathtub. So I think I'm okay. I think I'm going to be all right.
As long as you can get to that great teppanyaki that I hear they have down there. You were telling me, right, that you thought, or Jenny did, that your house was haunted?
Our house is 1,000% haunted. Yeah, the house we bought, yeah.
So you believe these sort of things?
Oh, I do. I don't know if I necessarily believe this one, but I've had way too many experiences in my house that I bought it's definitely haunted. And it's not like they're mean or anything. They're just chilling. They're hanging out, but they let their presence be felt every now and then. It doesn't feel like there's any poltergeist thing going on. Nothing nefarious. It's just like we're all just kind of hanging out. We're roommates, if you will.
You don't feel weird getting out of the shower?
Stop
looking at me.
I figure they've already seen enough with all the other people who've been through the house. So, what's another something else,
It also begs the question is once we all, perspire, do people have nothing better to do than look at Scotty G get out of the shower? I mean,
I guess not, but
we be moving on to bigger and better, or at least, finding a more scenic view?
Is honestly, if that's what you have to look forward to in the afterlife, is seeing random dudes get out of the shower
that's what I'm saying.
For all eternity, then that's not something I really want to sign up for.
Sounds terrible.
And maybe that's their version of hell. Maybe that's what hell really is just seeing dudes get out of the shower every day.
I got to see Jake Scott get out of here.
Rough.
Jeez,
it's
really?
rough. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we have to look forward to. No, primarily they're mostly downstairs. I haven't heard anything upstairs. It's mostly the downstairs. So I think I'm okay on that.
So
regard.
Much like Mike Smith, they're allergic to stairs, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Mike has a well-known stair allergy. I've talked about it several times.
I know. I've heard it.
He breaks out into hives.
You guys are a little rough on Mike.
We are not. Are you kidding?
No, I think it's fun.
We love Mike.
I enjoy it. Mike's awesome. He's great. I mean, that horse wants to run, and you let the reins loose and let him go. It's great.
We bring out the best in Mike.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, no. So it was interesting because we had moved into the house, and people know I bought it from Spencer Nilsson, and we moved into the house, and we go to dinner with a bunch of neighbors, And they're like, so are you okay living in a former hospice? And I'm like, wait, what? And my wife was already on DEFCON 1 because she was hearing stuff very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, our house, your house used to be a hospice. And one lady's like, yeah, my grandpa died in your house.
Whoa.
It's like, oh, well, okay then. And I'm like, Spencer, isn't that something that you need to put? I'm no like real estate guy, but isn't that something you need to put on your disclosure form, like when you sell a house?
I don't think that's a legal requirement, no.
Oh, okay. I thought,
Would you, let's say you and Jenny found the house of your dreams, but it turned out to be a murder house. You have an issue?
Yeah, I can't buy a murder house.
Can't buy a murder house?
You're not still buying the one like that you're in right now? I mean, you're right next to the temple.
Well, it wasn't murder. It was,
I know, but what
causes.
I'm saying, what if that house was a murder house, though? That's
then I wouldn't
location,
have bought it.
location, Scotty.
Dude, see, I think you wheel the couch over the bloodstain and move on with your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's easy for you guys to say.
Well, mine's
Really,
already got
Lloyd?
bloodstains.
Well, I mean,
I'd just be asking him to take like $20K off the asking price. Be like, you're not going to sell the murder house. Come on now.
I don't know, man. Don't you think there's some bad vibes on buying a murder house?
Not really.
Like if there was a murder-suicide in the house and it was in a great neighborhood, perfect neighborhood where you're at now, I've been to your neighborhood. It's awesome.
Uh-huh.
And you could get a great deal on it. You're not bothered by that whatsoever.
No, not at all. This got bleak, though, by the way.
A deal is a deal.
It went from murder to murder-suicide.
Well, no, I mean, we got to really
Dark.
ramp it up here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still doing it. Whatever. It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, home is what you make of it. I don't know.
Home is where the heart is.
I don't believe in the haunting thing.
Home is where the heart is.
I would find it weird to think that people are just looking at me all the time.
Yeah. You know, you get used to it after a while.
See, ignorance is bliss. If even if people are looking at me all the time, I don't want to know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I just kind of forgot about it, and you don't even worry about it anymore.
Plus,
if anything, you feel like you got a built-in babysitter. You know, if you tell,
they help me raise my kids.
Yeah, if you tell your kids, like, you're worried about what your kids are watching online, and some of the stuff they're doing online, and so you're like, hey, guess what? Bob, who died here in 1963, is looking over your shoulder. So I would be very careful on what you're dialing up on Netflix when mom and dad are out for dinner. So let's just I'm just going to leave that with you right now.
So it's like that weird BYU Idaho video that they released, but it's ghosts instead of like your flatmates.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, somebody's always out. Somebody's always watching.
Hey, kids are going out. Bob, the ghost, is in charge. Oh, that's funny. Hey, what if it is? Maybe it's a Casper situation where it's just, friendly people that want to help out.
That's, honestly, that's the vibe I get.
All right.
I mean, you hear a lot of voices in the basement, like at night. And so that's a little disconcerting, when you're making your 2 a.m. bathroom run and you hear people talking and you think, are my kids still? Oh,
Yeah.
no, it's Bob. It's Bob. Bob's just
Bob.
doing Bob things. It's
Cool. All right.
All right.
Good. Well, that's an odd start to the show, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, you know what? Well, hey, look, we have a certain standard on this show, even though Hans isn't around anymore, of getting weird every now and then. And so, we have high expectations. People expect it to get a little off the rails from time to time.
Well, and you and I have been bouncing weird ideas off each other for since old Bill Clinton was in. No, I guess it would have been early George W.
It was the first Bush term, though.
Yeah. So it's a good way to start, Scotty.
Since Jake's browser history.
Oh, I did love that segment.
That was a great bit. That was a great bit.
One of the best bits in sports radio.
That's right up there with name that cell phone ringtone.
Oh, that was rough. But you do have your spot at the teppanyaki spot locked down. You're good?
Well, I'm in a different hotel. I'm actually, Lloyd, you'll like this. I'm actually in Old Town. I've never stayed here before. And so I think I am in walking distance of some of the places that you wanted me to go.
World-renowned teppanyaki.
I'm not taking heat for that. Like
I will die.
I will die on that hill where I'm not going to drop $80 on a round trip Uber ride just so that I can get some sopapillas that Lloyd thinks are great.
Culinary capital of the world, and there we are, teppanyaki. Yes.
And I caught those shrimp too every time. He threw two at me, and I caught them.
You did.
And I'm proud of what I was able to, and the price and the money I saved. All right, let's get to it. Jake, you were on the air yesterday with Ben when the news broke. Jaren Jackson Jr. on his way to Utah. It was officially announced by the Jazz last night. So I will ask you this right out of the gate. I got some thoughts on this as well.
Okay.
Is the tanking now officially over? Now, I mean, at the end of this year, obviously they want to keep on losing because they want to hold on to that draft pick. But is this the moment that we can look back a year from now and say, that is when our collective nightmare came to an end?
Collective nightmare. I like that. Yeah, I think so. I think it's pretty safe to say that. There's not the motivation to tank next year, which is kind of a natural or a nice coincidence. Probably had something to do with the timing of all of this, because obviously this year, as last year and the year before, and this stupid first-round pick that has held the whole franchise hostage for 4 years is going to be in the rearview mirror. And, yeah, you don't trade for an all-star if you just want to boot another year, I would guess, unless you really are thrilled about paying another max guy to do nothing. I think that's probably a pretty good indication. I honestly think, Scotty, and maybe you've heard this, you're dialed in, but I've heard it from a couple of places, that the emergence of Keontae George was such a big deal in these discussions because they needed to have some hits. And if Keontae is a hit, then all of a sudden you're looking at maybe your pillar guard going forward, and then you can be a little bit more aggressive in fast forwarding. And it helps because you can merge it with Lowry's timeline a little bit. Like if Keontae wasn't a hit and you're left with just Lowry and really no other potential, then maybe you see him drag it out a little bit more because it's going to take a few pieces. But if Keontae is one of those pieces, you believe Lowry is a piece, you throw in a third there, and then you're off to the races. So in answer to your question, I think, yes, you can read that into it.
It's interesting, and I know David Locke's going to join us coming up here in about 15 minutes from now, and we'll get some thoughts. But the collection of next year, so, look, obviously Walker Kessler's out. You're not going to play Jackson a ton because you want to lose. But when this team hits the court next year, do you anticipate – because when I first heard it, I thought this means Walker Kessler's on his way out. And now I've completely rethought that, and I've talked to a couple people where they say, no, hold up on that. It's going to take a really sweet offer to lure him away, and somebody's going to have to really pay him for us to give up his rights in restricted free agency. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, you do have Walker Kessler back next year. He plays the 5, Jaren Jackson the 4, Lowry plays the 3. You got Ace at the 2, Keontae at the 1, throw in a hopefully top 5 draft pick in there somewhere. And then you look at a team like that. That's a playoff team next year. That's a playoff team. But I'm curious to know how Walker Kessler and Jaren Jackson play together. That's the one thing I got a question mark on.
They fit terrifically well. I was frustrated yesterday, and I started off my show with a little bit of a rant about this today. But I was a little frustrated yesterday as people were digesting the trade, and mostly I'm following online, right? And seeing people talk about it. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not a big. He's not. That's not the position that he plays. He's not a good rebounder. And, in fact, if you wanted him to play the big, you'd be asking him to do things that he's not good at as opposed to things that he is. I likened it, Scotty, and maybe you'll appreciate this. He is much closer to, and I'm talking defense here, okay? So mainly positioning and their game defensively. He is way closer to Andre Kirilenko than he is Rudy Gobert. He's an off-ball shot blocker. He's a versatile guy who can switch all 5 positions, which is really his superpower defensively. What he is not is stand under the basket and deter at the rim. It's just not his game. So he and Walker actually have very little to do with one another, other than they have the potential, I think, to be complementary. But, I mean, if you play Jaren Jackson at the big, you are automatically the worst rebounding team in the league. Whereas by a mile. Whereas Walker is maybe the best offensive rebounder in the league. At least he was last year. One of the best defensive rebounders in the league. A true rim defender, and doesn't overlap offensively with Jaren Jackson Jr. really at all. So, people who were saying this somehow is going to make a decision one way or another on Walker. At least on the court, I don't think that is correct. Now, financially speaking, it's related, and we can talk about that. now you have two max guys. That is going to affect how much money you can give not only Walker, but Keontae George as well. So in that sense, they are related. But if you're talking about on the floor and all of a sudden you're starting Walker, Jaren Jackson Jr., Lowry at the 3, Ace at the 2, and Keontae at the 1, you're the biggest team in the league by a mile.
Oh,
by
boy.
a mile. Yeah. And Lowry at the 3 creates the other teams just headaches because he's a 7-foot-tall guy. So what do you do with that? So I think he fits very well, actually, right next to Walker Kessler. So I don't think this trade somehow affects whether he's on the team or not, unless you're talking financially.
Yes, and that's going to be, maybe the $25, $30, $35 million question with Walker Kessler is what is that offer worth? And I know Ben's brought up an interesting point. So if you've got you got Lowry and you've got Jaren Jackson, that's about $100 million tied up right there. How much are you willing to spend on Walker Kessler? I think the number right now is about 25, but I think somebody's going to break 30 on him, and that's going to be a hard question in that front office to answer.
Well, there's one fewer suitor because the team he was connected to, what was it, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, was the Wizards, and so they make a trade for Anthony Davis, which is really
Street
something.
Clothes on the road. Yeah, by the way, that Luka trade really worked out well. Defense wins championships.
Rough.
Jeez.
But the Wizards aren't going to sign Walker. I think there are teams out there much like last night's opponent, Indiana. I think there will be some interest there because they need a big to replace Miles Turner when they're going to try and get back to winning. I think, the restricted free agent game is always a dangerous one. But I think the Jazz do value Walker. I think they value him more today than they potentially did yesterday. And sometimes you sign the guys and match the deals and figure it out later. They may get stuck in that type of scenario. But I think it's good news. The Wizards aren't going to be interested anymore. The Lakers have been, and I'm guessing will be interested. Like the Pacers, like there'll be a market for Walker. There will.
Yes. And there's a lot, and you hit it right on the head. I agree with wholeheartedly. But there's this adage that yesterday said a lot about Keontae George, which is right. But it also may have said a lot about Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
And the fact that, yes, we want him on the court with Jaren Jackson. We think Lowry, obviously Lowry plays the 3 well, although I think he wants to play a little bit more of the 4. But then also Ace Bailey at the 2 is going to be an interesting development for him as well. But you know what? If you bring Kessler back with Jaren Jackson, it's a great front line. And I'm looking at it yesterday thinking, you know what? That might be a problem. And the more that I talk to people, the more that you really analyze the situation and really dig into who Jaren Jackson is, there's no way he can be your 5. It can't happen.
Nope. It may be like a small ball 5. I talked to Ben a little bit about this for 10 or 15 minutes when you're just trying to wrong foot the opponent, like kind of like John Collins was a little bit. I mean, there is some to that, but he's not the fill-in big. He's not the answer at center. And people get that when we're talking about big, right? Because the NBA, and I clarified this with Ben, anymore, the NBA is 1 center, 3 wings, and 1 guard. I mean, that's kind of how it works. The days of having Mark Gasol and Zach Randolph, one on one block and one on the other, those days are long gone. And the days of having Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, 2 teeny guards in your backcourt, those days are gone too. I mean, you really have 1 guard, 3 wings, and 1 big. And Jaren Jackson will not be the 1 big. No.
And so you're looking at a team that I believe next year is a playoff team.
Yes.
But also a team that is, you look offensively, offense has never been an issue with Will Hardy's teams. It's been defense. And defense has not just been bad, it's been horrific. And I think one player like this can certainly change. And the length, because of the dominoes that fall, like you talked about, the length that comes from that across the board, 1 through 5, immediately makes you a better defensive team.
Yeah, it does. And you listen, Ace Bailey has to turn into an all-around player. And there's been some good news on that. I mean, the last walk-off he did with Locke, He had a decent offensive game. I can't remember. It was one of those 20-point games maybe. And the first sentence out of his mouth was about defensive effort and team defense and all those sorts of things. Like, he's got to be an all-around dude, and it sounds like he's kind of on his way to doing that. But you've seen Cody Williams guard better. I don't know. Maybe we'll see what Will Hardy's defensive schemes end up looking like, Scotty. The personnel has not been there for a defensive team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At all. And especially
yeah,
this year. I mean, the personnel, to not have a center and expect to be any sort of resistance at all is really a pipe dream. So I'll be curious to see what he does when he has personnel.
Well, it also allows, look, you don't have that crazy shot blocker like he had with Rudy Gobert, but you do have a guy who affects shots at the rim in Walker Kessler. You've got a guy who is a off-the-ball defender that can really create things in Jaren Jackson with block shots. So I think you've got a guard line that can even, not to the extent that Quinn Snyder did it with Rudy Gobert, but you have Keontae George on the outside who can certainly, take a few more risks, because you've got rim protection better than you've had in the past.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, let's not get crazy like Quinn Snyder intentionally telling his guards to get beat. Let's not get crazy. But yeah, I certainly get what you're saying. And honestly, with the off-the-ball defense from Jaren Jackson Jr., I mean, he's really good at it. It's the reason he won Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, it's a big step forward. It was a huge day yesterday, Scotty. I said this on the pregame, breaking news days are really the most fun days in this business, and you can always remember, you and I have done thousands of shows, and they all run together, but you still remember that show you did when the Jazz signed Carlos Boozer, you still remember those big breaking news shows, and so days like yesterday are super fun.
Mehmet Okur, I remember that day.
Yep.
Those are fun days for sure. When Carlos Boozer told a blind man, "I'll re-sign with you," and then did not.
That's rough.
Yeah,
that's rough. Lie to a blind guy. I even remember the show when Jordan Clarkson got traded for Dante Exum. I was at a barbecue restaurant by myself because, of course, Gordon was off. And and it was like, okay, well, let's throw everything out the window and talk about this deal. But it's fun. Like I'm not even complaining about that. Not at all. Type of stuff like that is what makes the job really cool.
All right. Well, Jake, thanks for hanging out with me, man. I appreciate it.
Scotty, you are literally my favorite person of all time. Anything you need, I'm always here.
You're the best. That is Jake Scott, everybody. You hear him every day from 10 to noon, and every now and then he'll slip down and hang out with us, too. It's another edition of Scotty G and Friends. I know, look, it's not a permanent name. We're just kind of working through and seeing what works. We'll have Tim Lacombe, who will join us on the show tomorrow and Friday for the full show. So we'll talk Jazz, and, hey, the dude can even break down Super Bowl as well. So we'll have Tim Lacombe will be our co-host for the next couple days. After today, I'm here in Albuquerque, Utah State, and New Mexico coming up later on tonight. And the great David Locke will join us next. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome on back. You are listening to 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Gerard with you in lovely Albuquerque, New Mexico. So over the last, I want to say 5 days, we've called a game in Logan, called a game in Toronto, and tonight we'll call a game in Albuquerque. How about that? And by the way, that is no hashtag grinding reference. That is no woe is me nonsense. I would do this every week of the year if I could. It is phenomenal, and I love it, and I appreciate it, and it is a fantastic gig. And I'm incredibly grateful not only for Utah State, but KSL for allowing me to do this, and the Utah Jazz for letting me fill in the other night, and for David Locke allowing me to step into his shoes as he filled in for Craig Bolerjack. What a great game last night, too. Jazz win 131-122, and I get it, it's the Pacers. I understand all of that, but the fact that you had a 7-man rotation, Isaiah Collier goes for the full 48, dishes out 22 assists, and as you heard Will Hardy just mention, said, you know what? I told Isaiah after his first foul, hey, you can't be doing that because you're going to go 48 tonight. And he didn't consult anybody and didn't tell Isaiah Collier until midway through the first quarter that you better be a little bit more judicious with your fouls because I'm going to keep you out on the court a long, long time. But the big story of the day, certainly why the Jazz only had a 7-man rotation, because we got ourselves a blockbuster trade. And David Locke joins us. David, could it be? Is this a day yesterday that we'll point to and say the long collective nightmare came to an end?
Yes. It's over. The witch is dead.
Ding
yes.
dong, the witch is dead.
Yes. Well, the witch isn't totally dead.
No. We got the end of the year.
The witch better show its warts and its fangy teeth and its long fingernails and be particularly scary for the next 29 games. Then the witch is dead. But we actually have a tombstone built, and we have the obituary written, and we know the expiration date on the witch.
All right, so initial thought when you saw this go down. Give me David Locke and that that mind spinning of yours. What's the immediate thought you had?
So I have just done a podcast that day and walk and talk about how I really thought now was the time to act. That the choice the Jazz had to make was, are they willing to use their cap space now, or use their money that would you end up taking their cap space out of play now, or do they go to the offseason and try to use their cap space to sign someone? And there weren't going to be a lot of teams with cap space, but it's so risky to go to the offseason and try to talk someone into coming to Utah when Brooklyn wants them and maybe somebody else is offering a trade deal. And it's just really, really hard to get done. And so I had finished my podcast that day and kind of thought, now is the time. And my thought was can you facilitate the Giannis deal in some way and get a player like an OG Anunoby, or can you get a Mikal Bridges out of New York if they're trying to get draft picks, which I don't totally understand why Milwaukee just wouldn't want the player. But nonetheless, that kind of concept. And so I did kind of think to myself, well, now is the time. But I never thought that. I never thought you were getting a 2-time All-Star. I never thought you were taking a $50 million contract. It was at a magnitude so much larger than where I think any of our heads were and had been. And so I think that truly is what jumped out to me at the moment. And then, no offense to Walter Clayton and Taylor Hendricks, but to give away player-wise, little to nothing. I think Clayton's got a chance to play. And then draft pick-wise, there's some real intricacies in here. I don't want to bore you with all of them, and this probably wasn't my initial reaction, but the Phoenix pick, they really traded Jaren Jackson Jr. The Jazz traded the Phoenix pick. The Phoenix pick has a chance. We'll see what it is. The Jazz traded the Phoenix picks, a hypothetical rotation player, and a maybe rotation player in Walter Clayton Jr. That's really what I feel like, and we'll see on Taylor. I don't have it feels so rough for Taylor right now. So there's a chance things can change. Players can evolve. Let's not pigeonhole someone to pigeonhole someone to what they are today. But they traded 227 picks in a not very good draft, and those picks will both be 15 or beyond, hopefully. And that means you're getting a rotational player. That's what the odds say on that. And then the 2031 pick, we'll see, out of Phoenix. But, you haven't seen a lot of teams this side of Joe Dumars' New Orleans Pelicans who don't have their own pick and end up, being in the top 10. When teams don't have their pick, they usually try to win, right? The teams that are in the top 10 of the draft are teams that got there on purpose. So other than this year's incompetence by New Orleans, you almost never see what Atlanta's going to get this year. So I even think that one's we just didn't give away a lot. What we took was a $50 million contract, so it's a huge swing. It's not perfect, but boy, it's really good. And it does mean we're competing and we're viable and we're relevant and we matter. And we were in the news for a day for the first time in how many years? And we might get national TV games depending on what our draft pick is next year. And it matters. We'll put together a basketball team, and opening night next year will be with excitement and possibility in a way that we haven't been since the last year of Quinn Snyder.
A 2-time All-Star, a Defensive Player of the Year. He's 26 years old. He's still, he's under contract through 2030 at a big number, sure. but certainly a resume deserving of that contract and a skill set deserving of that contract. So walk me through what next year's, a draft pick to be named later, but a starting lineup that consists of Walker Kessler, if the Jazz are able to bring him back on restricted free agency, Jaren Jackson, Lowry, Ace Bailey, Keontae George. How does that team mesh together opening night in 2026?
I mean, I think it's huge and long, and it gives you all sorts of options, and it's really interesting. It doesn't have any ball handling, right? It's short ball handling. It might be short a shooter, depending where Ace Bailey is. But the roster's getting close. Like, you need it. I was talking to one of our players the players are so excited. Like, maybe that's the most important thing. Like, I talked to Lowry for 5 minutes today. Keontae came up to me like, what do you think? Like, I mean, they're all like, everyone's so excited. The bus last night had more, communication and talk on it than it's had before any game. I thought they played with a lot of juice last night, and so you could practice today had it. Like, the coaches are all more excited. Everyone's just engaged and energized by this around the team, including myself, but I don't matter. Like, the guys that matter are just so energized by this. Lowry was chatting about, like the next pieces of the puzzle, and Keontae was talking about, like, what do you think? And how does it fit? And what do you think? Like, Jaren needs Walker and Walker needs Jaren. It's actually, that's the best mix of this too, is the Walker Jaren aspect of it. Lowry said it doesn't matter if he plays her 3 or 4. Jaren can do stuff on ball, and he's an off-ball player. And I asked Lowry about the fact that neither of them really pass and get assists, and he's like, but I think we both played the game the right way. So these guys have all talked about it. Keontae's been texting Jaren. Will's been texting Jaren, and it's like everyone's juiced about it. So, all right, your question, I think, was
how does that team come together, play together? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take some time to figure it out. That team's short ball handling, probably short shooting. It's got great size. It should be better defensively. I think it's maybe like Will's pretty good offensively, so maybe it gets to be like the 10th best offense in the NBA and the 18th best defense or something like that. That's a good team. That gets you in the ballpark.
How
and
much?
You got to figure out the pieces around it. You need a sniper, like you need talking to the guys. They're like, we need a real dead-eye sniper, because a lot of what you're going to be doing is punishing switches, because you're going to be running everyone switching 1 through 4, and you've got 3 guys that are big. Ace is probably not strong enough to punish it yet, but you're running Keontae off Jaren. You're running, Jaren and Lowry into something, and you're running Keontae involved, and so now you've got a switch, and you're going to punish the switch down low. When they bring the double or they bring help, you got to be able to have somebody outside that can really bury it. So they need that on the roster. They don't have that. They probably need a little bit more ball handling. But I mean, so it's not a finished product, but it's pretty exciting.
How much of the accelerated development of Keontae George allowed the Jazz to pull the trigger now?
100%. If Keontae George does not develop, I think you're trading Lowry Markkanen and hitting a reset. There's a real chance, right?
Yeah, that's my thought.
I mean, I don't know if that's the case, and Austin might disagree with me that you still try to, but no, the fact that Lowry's a top 40 player, Jaren Jackson's a top 40 player, and Keontae might be a top 40 or 50 player, allows them to go to Ryan Smith and say, okay, this is a little jacked up. This doesn't really work. $100 million for these 2 players combined is too much, but it can work for these following reasons for a while, and we'll deal with it. This is the first iteration. It's not perfect. This is the first iteration of it, and it's going to have to make some adjustments. And frankly, having Lowry and Jaren Jackson at $100 million between the two of them is probably not ideal in this version of the way the salary cap works. But it's going to get a little tricky, because by the end of, I think by 27, 28, 2 years in, I think Lowry, Jaren, and Keontae are $140 million.
Yeah.
And then you had Walker, and he's probably to be as much as $170 million. Well, ask Ace, and that's $140 million. Like, that's getting tight. The other subtle one here to me is your remaining pieces, Filipowski, Sensabaugh, Collier, and Cody Williams. Again, I've said this the whole time. You only need like 1 or 2 of them to hit. You really don't need. You don't need an awful lot there. The the role for them, and I paused there for a second because I don't want to disrespect them in a manner but how they fit into this specific roster gets much easier for them. Right? Like, can Cody Williams be a defensive wing player who improves some ball and knocks down enough shots? Can Isaiah Collier be a change of pace guard? Can Kyle Filipowski play the 4 next to Jaren Jackson? I don't know the answers to these questions, but I do think that that's what we're talking about. Jaren Jackson's a much better 4 than a 5, by the way. Let's make sure that's clear. Jaren Jackson is a much better 4 than a 5. Defensively. Offensively, he can do either, but defensively, he doesn't rebound. And so, none of those guys are very good rebounders. The irony is we could have a 7-foot front court of 3 7-footers that don't rebound.
So is there a certain element of trust involved, knowing that he's better at the 4, that the Jazz feel comfortable that they can that Walker Kessler comes back healthy and that they'll be able to hold on to Walker Kessler?
I mean, I think Walker's a restricted free agent. You haven't seen restricted free agents leave very often, right?
No.
Let's just go on that. But
when you have the $100 million to two of those players, it might alter your thinking just a bit. But yeah, you're right.
And it might. On the other end, frankly, Walker Kessler is going to be appealing to, if the Jazz don't keep Walker Kessler, or the Jazz sign Walker Kessler for a 4-year something million, 100 and whatever, call it 25 or 30, whatever you want to call it. Walker Kessler will be appealing on the trade. Walker Kessler is a good player. Walker Kessler will be appealing on the trade market to whoever makes the decision to go get Walker Kessler.
David Locke joining us. No, I'm with you.
Right. That would, yeah.
So even if look, somebody goes out there, they sign him to a 4-year, $130 million contract, and you match it, that doesn't mean you can't parlay that into something else down the line.
Right. This is the first iteration, and the first iteration is fine, and then you pay Keontae, and it gets a little less fine, and then you pay Ace, and it's not okay. And then if you have another draft pick coming, you're going to have to deal with that again at a later time. So there are certainly issues at stake here, but it's not. None of them are catastrophic.
Just saying,
I mean, you can't you're not it's like I was talking to someone today, and it's not perfect, but this is a tremendous move forward. It's the first move made in years to get better. Right? It's to become a better, like Lowry literally said to me, this is the first time we've gotten better since I've been here.
Woo. Wow. He's right.
But that's true.
I mean, he's absolutely right. Yeah, no, yeah, he's 100% right.
I don't think Lowry meant that meanly. He just meant excited. And I actually really think, and the one that I was the one I was actually talking to Lowry about, and this was me talking, not Lowry, is that the offseason just changed for these guys. Because there's 2 motivators in life. And I actually just talked to Key about this. There's fear and there's pleasure. Those are the 2 motivators in life. Right?
Yep.
Think about it. At least that's my theory. So you're either motivated because you want pleasure, or you're motivated because you're scared blankless.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it depends whichever it is. Every night before I do a broadcast, I know which mine is. Scared. I'm going to make a total ass of myself, right? I'm totally scared every night. So you're going into, why did you not go to Black Camel like you should have in Toronto? Because of that. I was your motivator, right? Fear,
I was fear. Yeah. You told me a great sandwich place, and I instead hold myself up in the hotel room prepping for 3 hours. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because you used 30 minutes of that prep instead of having one of the best barbecue sandwiches you ever have in your life. So you need to consider things. But anyway, I was talking to Lowry about this, and Lowry doesn't have any fear anymore. Right? He's made his money. He's an NBA player. The only thing Lowry has left as a motivator is pleasure. Well, playing basketball games that matter is his pleasure.
Yeah.
And so, when Lowry's on the hard like, and I'm speaking to Lowry. I want to like make this. These are not Lowry's words, but like when Lowry has the hard day, there's always a hard day. Like Lowry's incredibly disciplined, but he's not a robot. Well, the hard days can be way easier to get through this offseason. In fact, you might do 2 extra sets because there's really exciting stuff going on. And that's pretty great.
Yeah. And I think there is an element of it's go time. And the fact that you've heard that from people on the team, because trades aren't fun. These are friends. These are coworkers. These are guys. Look, I just lost a coworker and I'm still in a funk over it. So, yeah, I mean, I understand the difficulty of it, but when you have that high level of excitement, high tide lifts all boats. And I think the offseason thing is absolutely correct.
And like Keontae was motivated by fear in the offseason.
Yeah.
Right? Because he didn't know whether he was going to be an NBA player or not. Well, now he's going to be motivated by it's 96-96 with 3 minutes left in a ballgame that matters.
Hey, by the way, what's our ceiling looking like for him? Because his elevation in this year, is there still a lot of improvement to go from him? Because right now it's phenomenal to see what he's been able to put together.
Yeah, I don't know. He's really skilled. He's really talented. He's really athletic. He's really strong. He's got a touch. He had a month there that was like ridiculous. The league changed the rules in the game, and so now he's not as ridiculous because the league changed the rules in the middle of the season again, which is super cool. Joke. I mean, I don't think he's December. Like, that was stupid, right? Like, didn't he – like, he averaged 28 points a game, shot 48% and 44% from 3 and 90 – like, that's like – there's 10 guys in the league that can have that month. But even after they changed the rules, he's still 47-39, 23 points a game. He's going to the free throw line. Stunningly, he actually went to the free throw line not quite as drastically less as everybody else in the league. But he's still pretty good. So I don't know what his ceiling is, honestly. Like, I do think numbers are inflated a little bit, so I get a little nervous to just be like, well, he's 24, 4, and 7, and this has only been done by this many guys. Like, we're playing a lot more possessions. We're scoring a lot more points as a league. And so that feels a little bit like, be careful with that one. But he's really good. Like, he's really, like, compare him to the guys in the league right now. He's big time. So I don't know. And I say that like I don't know out of respect for how big a jump he's taken this year. And this is a jump that very few players have ever taken in a season.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. And the other one I would just say, like honestly, also I don't know, and people might laugh at me, this might be stupid, is he's just delightful in a way that honestly he just wasn't before, because he wasn't probably as comfortable in his own skin. And so there's a whole 2-part thing that's going on here, that he has grown up and gained social and life confidence that should allow another jump, or at least maintain the jump, right? Like, so that's my other thought. It's great.
By the way, Lloyd's accusing you of a check swing on the scared bleepless, and I think he's right. I think you almost came full.
And I did not go. And I did not go.
We had to go to first base for a ruling on it, and it was close.
I did not go.
We quickly pulled the on-air feed, be like, wow, that was really close.
Check swing might be fair. I had the first syllable.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree if the first syllable was there.
Yeah. You didn't fully go all the way around, but it was, it was close. Yep. It was close. David, you're the best, man. Appreciate it. And by the way, can't thank you enough for the opportunity and, the vote of confidence. That was an absolute blast.
Well, you can give me for vote of confidence. Like I don't have the power to choose that. I just suggest. But you're also it's very comfortable when you're sitting in that chair. I'm not worrying about the show at all. I'm not worried about how it's going. You're absolutely terrific, and I appreciate you.
And you know what? I think Booner likes it because he can. I let that horse run. Whatever he wants to do, I'm like, Booner, you go, man.
Is that why he was so tired last night? Because you actually made him work a full show? Just kidding.
Like, even Thurl was giving him grief too. It's like, hey, you okay back there? What's going on?
Well,
awesome.
yeah, he did actually. Well, I don't know if you heard about this, but we flipped to the TV and they showed you guys. I was like, wow, I've never seen Boone's mouth move so much.
Yeah, I went back and watched that. That was awesome.
I didn't know Boone could talk that much. Where did that come from?
And Thurl's like, I know you don't. Hey, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate it. Well, let's talk
right, my
soon.
pleasure. Fun day for Jazz fans. Season tickets for next year are available. All the good, exciting stuff.
There you go. David Locke, right here on 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone. What you may have missed coming up next, right here on The Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Back in the day, this used to be a huge event, the February signing day. Then December came along, and then that pretty much took over the priority on the signing day when it came to college football. But still, big one up in Logan. More players added to the roster for Bronco Mendenhall, head coach at Utah State. Bronco, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks. How about you?
I'm doing well. You remember how crazy those days used to be in February. How are things different now? Does December feel like February, or does neither one of these days really have that same kind of oomph that the old day had?
Neither one has the same impact as it once did. December much more so than what today is, and that's a combination, quite frankly, the early signing period, which basically is the high school signing period, is how I would describe that now. And then the emphasis now, and quite frankly, the need to build rosters, and really only one place to do it after December is the portal. And so the entire landscape is shifted, the coach's workload, the organizational design, the resources allocated, and then the preparation for a very short amount of time to rebuild rosters for every single program in the country has created this other phenomenon, which we're announcing our players, which were our transfer players, our portal players today. But that really has become an entity in and of itself, and maybe outweighs any of the other things we've talked about.
I know we're kind of backing up a little bit to December, but do you find that there are better high school players available than maybe in the past because they're getting overlooked by schools that are just saying, well, we'll get transfers instead of high school? Because it seems like high school recruiting's been overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, I think the theory is valid. Slightly more research needed to truly validate that, meaning when the kids' careers play out and the quality.
Yeah.
But my sense right now is that the quality of high school player available for Utah State is higher, and the demand is lower around the country and by emphasis, and the opportunity is greater. So I really see for Utah State and our program a chance to continue getting really good high school football players, especially from our own state, and leveraging that over time while I'm in the portal enough to continue winning and building momentum, but the future of the program being sustained through the consistency of high school recruiting.
You mentioned to me leading up to this signing day that the academic calendar was going to be a bit of an issue for Utah State with the one transfer portal opening now instead of two. How were you able to navigate that now that you're looking back on it?
Yeah, unlike anything I've ever experienced. And so for our listeners, the portal opens, I believe, on a Friday. Our school starts Monday. That means we had a Saturday, Sunday, and then classes began. We had to add what we assessed were 35 players to our roster in less than 2 weeks. We knew that going in, presented that to the institution. Utah State did everything they could to help. Professors adding classes, being a little bit more flexible in terms of some of the protocols that had traditionally been without compromising any academic or institutional integrity, and then making the course offerings for the second 7 weeks of the semester a little more robust in the event that we needed those. And so I was really appreciative. However, we visited 44 players in 2 weeks, signing 32 of them. And that was visits every day, players coming in and out, making decisions in 24 hours or less on where their future home was. It's unlike anything that I've seen, and it really is a recipe for lack of thoroughness and skipping steps and, quite frankly, not being right. And that's happening around the entire country. At Utah State, it was just accelerated because of our academic calendar. But I think we did really well under all the circumstances. But man, I just simply do not believe that's the sustainable model for college football. And anyway, amazing challenge. I think, again, we were very successful, but just really just a unique experience.
When you have that season that you had and it's under your belt, and have you had a chance to really reflect on last year, or did it go right into this portal and into this recruiting period and you really had no time to decompress and kind of look back on your thoughts on the pluses and minuses of last year?
It's both. So after our bowl game, there is a time period before the portal opens, and that, quite frankly, is a time period that's mislabeled. And as we know, the NCAA calendar needs to be completely redone. And so I'll frame that just for a second. That month that leads up to the portal opening, right, that's supposed to be a non-contact and non-tampering time period. If you think about now having to turn a roster in basically 2 weeks from the minute the portal opens and have those kids get into class, anyone that truly played by the rules and had no contact with a prospect that wasn't in the portal yet was at a giant disadvantage and, quite frankly, was completely ineffective. Many of the young people that we recruited, right, they had deals brokered, visits set, and amounts already discussed halfway through that month. And that was in a time period that now that's supposed to not be legal. But there currently isn't a governing body capable of addressing that. And there's behavioral norms that have kind of defaulted to industry standard as relative communication and moderate tampering, right? There are all these unofficial kind of best practices that are being associated simply to be effective enough to build your roster in a time period that makes no sense. And so it probably should be relabeled pre-portal communication window or something to that effect. Because the rules just simply aren't being followed, nor if they were specifically, there isn't enough time to fill your roster and do the research needed. At that same time, to answer your question, I'm certainly reflecting on our existing season. I made the comment to a dear friend of mine right after our spring practice that I thought that we would be racing at the finish line to be postseason eligible with 1, 2, or 3 plays determining whether we were in the conference championship game. And it played out almost identically to that. And so I had a good idea where we were, good idea where we are, and we were a play or two or a player or two away or a decision or two away as the head coach in game management from right being in the conference championship game in year one. And then in reflecting to our bowl game, our roster just was not quite deep enough to handle an injury or two. To have the outcome we wanted there, which is all great feedback for going into year 2.
Bronco Mendenhall, head coach at Utah State, joining us. Is there some level of, and I'm trying to think of the right phrase to put this, but the landscape that you're describing feels like the old Wild West, but sometimes it governs itself to a certain extent. Is there somewhat of a code among thieves on how you guys do talk to certain players? Is there some kind of unwritten rules that you at least the coaches kind of follow, or is it just a free-for-all?
It's more of the first within coaches that have morals, values, and ethics, where they're trying everything possible to stay within reason of the rules and the intent of the rules. And I would say there's plenty that are working hard to do that. And that just, quite frankly, is the moral integrity and the human decency to try to navigate a space with character. And then there are plenty that are the other, where they just see a huge opportunity to exploit. And there are plenty of those also at the same time.
So a lot of people obviously look at quarterback, and you had probably one of the most impressive individual performances of any quarterback I've seen in the state of Utah with what Bryson Barnes was able to put together last year for your squad and just laying it on the line game in and game out. McKay Hillstead makes his return. You've got some freshmen coming in as well. You've got a transfer from Virginia. I got to imagine that's open competition in spring. Do you hope to have that settled by spring, or does that carry over into the fall?
I always hope to have it settled by the end of spring, simply because of the autonomy needed to operate in the summer months without supervision from the coaches. But also it's good for the team to know who their leader is, and then right in the unofficial workouts or the other organic workouts that happen, and even in the locker room, it's great to know who the leader is. That doesn't mean a backup can't be the leader. It doesn't mean there isn't still a chance for competition. However, that can only be to a certain extent. So I love it to be done at the end of spring. I've also been in situations where it didn't finish that way, but it still worked out effectively. But the sooner the better, I think, for the organization, the consistency, the identity, and the direction. And now whether that will happen for sure, I can't ever say for sure, but that's always my hope.
So Kevin McGivern takes the job at the University of Utah. What was the phone call like when you talked to Robert and I and said, hey, you know what, maybe let's make one more run together?
So the phone call, first of all, regarding Kevin McGivern, I haven't ever worked with someone of that matched or that he didn't exceed the character and the type of person. What an amazing human being, very skilled coach, one of the best experiences of my life to have worked with him. And so I just feel really lucky and grateful that Kevin was with me and us at Utah State last year, and he'll do exceptional wherever he goes. So first of all, I just wanted to make sure everyone knows what I think of him, and he's just exemplary. In terms of Robert, that was my first phone call. It lasted about, 15 seconds, and it was, Robert, would you have an interest in? And it was yes, and when. And he's expressed multiple times the highlight of his coaching career was our time at Virginia together, that staff, what we were able to accomplish there, and it just is. I think he feels just fortunate, grateful, but I've never seen him as happy. And so 15 years together is what we've spent. He started the first day at BYU as the offensive coordinator on my first day as the head coach. And so we've been through a lot together and a lot of success together. And so really fun. And again, the conversation was so short, and it's as if we never stopped working together, which has been great.
Did he get there in time to have any kind of influence on some of these players that were brought in? Did he have a chance to get some eyes on some film and give you some thoughts on how to build this roster?
No, most of it was done and accelerated so quickly that he was on the back end of that. But after you're with someone 15 years, it's not as if you don't know what exactly we're going to need. And so I was able to influence that, certainly on his behalf, but as the coach of the program. And really we didn't miss a beat from that standpoint, even though he wasn't here.
How do you feel like you've developed depth on the offensive line through this window?
Man, it was a priority. So we added 5 players and hoping to add one more, which would be 6. So not only the number of players that we're adding in the offensive front, but the quality of the players that we're adding in the offensive front to continue to build that unit to where we can function at the level that we would like. So priority, targeted. I think we've addressed it well and certainly needed.
This is certainly coming from a selfish standpoint because I have nothing but just love and admiration for this guy. But seeing DJ Tialavea back on your staff, that put a big smile on my face.
Oh, I'm glad. I've had a lot of positive feedback, and what many probably don't know is I actually hired DJ when I arrived a year ago, and he had another opportunity literally the same day or the next day. And so it was a very fast just kind of communication and time together. As a former player at Utah State, I love that component. As a former NFL player from Utah State, I love that component. To have an alumni on staff is excellent. I think he does a super job recruiting, not only in our state but elsewhere. And what a great connection also with the Polynesian community. And so for DJ to return, I think it was a very easy selection for me, and lucky that he became available after the 1 year at Oklahoma State. And I think his ability to continue to learn and grow in the profession, as well as learn our organization and our system, I think will be a huge advantage to him, as well as continue to expand his learning and growth as a professional with the offensive line, being an assistant to Mario. I like all of that for not only him, but Utah State.
Do you feel, Nick had to do a lot to kind of manufacture pressure last year on the quarterback. How much of an emphasis was that to try to make sure that you could get pressure with not three, but get pressure with four and be able to help the back end a bit?
Yeah, huge emphasis and you can see by our portal additions, some of the players that by volume but also ability were in both positions of pressuring the quarterback and in the secondary. So I think we've done a really nice job after year one, seeing our needs, seeing our existing roster, also anticipating and seeing some of the teams we're playing in the Pac-12 and then being aggressive and going after the players that we think will add value. And so the defense took significant steps forward, climbing over 30 spots from a year ago. And that's expected to be repeated, if not doubled again, with where we want to go and how fast we want to be there. And that comes really through not only the coaching, but the personnel selection, which I think we addressed really well with what you just said.
I saw earlier today Bobby Houck, who used to be at UNLV, he's been in Montana forever, all-time winningest coach in Big Sky. He stepped down, and one of the reasons why he said he retired is he said there's a lot of days where I just don't enjoy going to work with what college football has turned into. How hard is it for you that have been in this profession for so long to still try to enjoy what college football has become?
I was just my wife sent me the same text. So Bobby and I, many don't know, we interviewed for the same job at Northern Arizona when I was early in my career. And Bobby and I worked together at NAU, and we've known each other, and my wife Holly and his wife Stacy are good friends and have been a long time. When I saw when I saw that he retired, I already knew. I knew exactly why. And I hadn't read the article. I just saw it. And this entire experience from the head coaching position needs to be reframed if you intend to remain. And that's what I've done, because there are plenty of days and opportunities to feel exactly like Bobby has. And he had a successful career, and I know him really, really well. And if you can't find the reason within this landscape to do the job, it's very, very similar to Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. There are very good coaches that have just had enough of this current approach, landscape, and quite frankly, the professional football nature of what it is. And that is professional football. As anyone that says it's not is really not educated enough to see what this is. This is pay for play. These are contracts. This is free agency. And it's an amazing experience. And so, and then knowing your entire roster, and quite frankly, the entire roster of every team that plays college football is able to leave at the end of each year. And so coaches like Bobby and those that are maybe more drawn to the traditional approach, it's very difficult to make sense of it. From my standpoint, the development of young people, right, and the influence on them in areas in addition to football is what sustains me. And if you were to say only the football part or the landscape part, it'd be a hard argument for many in the profession to say, man, I'm for that. By the way, that's not a complaint, and nor am I looking for any kind of sympathy. It just is, it has changed to such a level where I think many are having to just reframe, refocus, or recalculate what they're doing and why they're doing it. And if they can't make sense of that, then especially after all the success, and he's similar in age to I am, then it's probably just time.
How has, and you don't need to give specific numbers, but do you feel like Utah State has grown in terms of NIL funding at a rate that, I mean, obviously you always want more, but do you feel like it is accelerated at a direction and a percentage that it needs to for you to be able to compete in this new conference?
Yeah, that answer is yes. And I would say that need tripled in 1 year's time from when I arrived till now. Through Cam, our athletic director, man, what a great hire for Utah State, great leader. And the staff he's bringing has been so well aligned. The institution is making that commitment. The Pac-12 is certainly, and that destination is requiring that. But from my first year to my second year, in answer to the question, as Utah State stepped up in a manner that was keeping pace with year 1 to year 2, not the final marker, right? Not the final destination, but from year 1 to year 2, have I felt the emphasis and the support to match that? That answer is yes, and I'm grateful that that's happened because, again, that market, in my opinion, is over tripled from what I think many of us thought it would.
Coach, appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you again here very soon, and hopefully there's a couple days where you're able to decompress a little bit now that, well, I don't know. There probably isn't anymore, but at least hopefully you find a day to get on a surfboard somewhere in Hawaii.
Man, I'm going to try to convince my wife of that, so I hope so too.
All right. Thanks, Bronco. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.
There he is, Coach Bronco Mendenhall, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Take another break, come back as we continue to talk a little college football. Coming up in 1 hour from right now, Kalani Sitake, head coach at BYU, will join us as well right here on the Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is the good, it is the bad, it is the ugly. I know, even though Hans isn't here, we're still keeping a few things around. Good, the bad, the ugly remains, at least in the short run. I don't know, Lloyd, should we euthanize this too?
Let's not get crazy. I really like the good, bad, ugly.
I do too. And honestly, it is the one feature that we did the entire 12 years, correct? Like, I know
we didn't change it out. Nope.
What was the one that we did?
You make the call.
Oh, you make the call.
You make the call, which never stuck.
No,
it just did not. It never felt right. It never worked. But you try. You know what? You swing sometimes, and sometimes it works. Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't.
We replaced sports roulette with that for a while, and then that didn't fly at all. So then we had to bring sports roulette back, and we might keep that around. You know, look, it feels like even though Lloyd and I are back. And only Hans is left, but it feels like we're like a new coaching staff evaluating the team. And who are we telling to go, hey, you need to go in the transfer portal? Like, you know, there's those conversations that we're having in terms of what stays and what goes. And so, look, yeah, we're remaking the show a little bit at a time. I told everybody yesterday we're going to take our time on co-hosts and how that's going to look because there's a lot of really cool interest. A lot of people out there that have reached out that I think would be awesome. And so we're going to have some great choices to choose from. Tim Lacomb's going to be our co-host in the next couple days. We'll bring in a bevy of people. Kevin Graham has even signed up to host a few shows. So, Lloyd, he wants a Comrex in the mail, like ASAP. And he also wants some Perrier water.
I'm sure. I'm sure. The most demanding person I know.
You know Graham's going to have demands, but
Absolutely.
Kevin Graham's going to help us out. We'll have a bunch of other people. And look, I'm not saying this is an audition. I'm just saying that we just want to see what fits. We just want to see, you know, who's going to mesh with Lloyd and I because, you know, Lloyd and I aren't going to try to mesh with somebody else. They have to figure out a way to deal with us.
You bend to us. We don't bend to you.
No. Nope. I think we've been doing this long enough, Lloyd. We've earned that right to be able to say, like, no. You got to fit into our culture. We're not fitting into yours. So, all right. Hey, we're giving away a TV. That's right. The world is watching this week, and you could be watching on your brand new 75-inch. That's right, 75-inch smart TV. KSL Sports Zone wants you front and center for every unforgettable moment, and there's a bunch of them coming up this week. Enter to win at kslsports.com/contest. And for additional entries, listen this week for keywords to be announced in each show. The more entries you have, obviously, the better your chances to win. So the countdown is on. Opening ceremony on Friday. Big game coming up on Sunday. Pregame coverage starting at 11 a.m. Watch it all on KSL 5 TV. And today, your keyword is gold. That's right, gold. So go to KSLSports.com/contest. Enter in the keyword gold. That will give you a chance to win. And then listen to JJ and Alex. They'll have another keyword. Then go right back to KSLSports.com and enter that word in as well. So the more keywords you put in, the more opportunities you have to win. And somebody is walking away with a 75-inch television.
Only person I know to have a TV that big might be DJ.
Ooh, is DJ rocking a monster TV?
Oh, I think DJ I think does have a really large TV.
Well, I mean, he's in that income bracket, so he should have a very large TV.
I know.
But you know what? Like, I'm walking through Costco the other day, and it's amazing. Like, I don't know if these things will only last like a couple of months or maybe a year, and then you got to replace it. But I'm looking at like a 90-inch TV for like $1,500. It's crazy what's going on right now with TVs.
Hey, by the way, that old Sony you were talking about that you had and I had as well, that thing went forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what these TVs are like these days. That's probably why the prices have gone down on them.
Yeah, no, we had those, what was it, a Sony, it was a big gray TV.
The Vega?
The Vega,
Sony, Vega, I think.
That was my first major purchase as my wife and I as a married couple. And we got that back in like 2000. And that sucker weighed, I get at least 400 pounds. And it was only a 32-inch TV. Like, it wasn't, overall, screen-wise, it wasn't that big. But, man, that sucker was heavy. Beautiful screen, though, and a beautiful, beautiful TV. But, yeah, lugging that thing around, that was no bueno. That sucker was a beast. All right, time for your good. All right, so last night, obviously the Jazz shorthanded with the trade. So only a 7-man rotation. And how about Isaiah Collier dishing out 22 assists and played a full 48 minutes? That dude went wire to wire. And did he know before the game? No. He didn't find out until he picked up a foul, and Will Hardy had to pull him aside and say, hey, guess what? I'm going to need you a lot tonight. And Will Hardy talked about that after the game.
That was my decision, and I did not consult anybody about that decision. I really think any player is capable of doing it. You obviously wouldn't want to do that a bunch of nights in a row. But tonight, with the players that were available, it felt like a good opportunity for Zay to just roll. I sort of alerted Zay in the first half that was my plan after he had one sort of senseless foul. I just said, hey, man, if you keep doing that, we're going to ruin this part of the... Yeah,
He goes out and plays all 48 minutes, dishes out 20 assists, and scores 17 points. The Jazz, again, a limited roster. Isaiah Collier, Cody Williams, Ace Bailey, who played 40 minutes. Kyle Filipowski played 35. Lauri Markkanen just played 26 minutes. Bryce Sensabaugh, 29. Svi Mikhailuk played 20. But Isaiah, 48, and Cody Williams, 40. And, look, 17 points. 22 assists, 3 steals, 5 rebounds, only turned it over 2 times, too. I thought it was really impressive. I don't know what kind of pro Isaiah Collier is going to be. I really like him. I like his athleticism. I like the fact that he plays with just a mentality of I'm getting to the rim, I'm stronger than you are, and so if you put a guard in front of me, I'm going to make him pay. And his ability to get to the free throw line as well, even though last night he only shot 8 free throws, but his ability to get to the line, create at the rim, finish at the rim. Now, look, three-point shot's never going to be really part of his game, but the dude is big, he's strong, he's a freight train getting into the lane, and I love that he got a chance to really go big. Because,
how about that not happening? And I don't know, maybe you mentioned this, but since Magic Johnson in Game 5 of the 91 NBA Finals.
Yeah, somebody went for 20-plus assists and played for all 48 minutes.
All 48 minutes, 20-plus assists, and it hasn't happened since 1991.
Well, at first you're thinking, okay, that's crazy. I can't believe that hasn't happened. But then you take a look at it, and, I'll compare it, Lloyd, to your world in baseball. Going 9 innings wasn't always common, but it wasn't completely unrare that somebody would do that. Now, heaven forbid some guy goes, 6-7 innings, and then it's like, okay, well, we got to get him out. Well, he's pitching really. It doesn't matter. We got to keep him under X amount of pitches. Right now, there is such a strict limit on minutes. Like, there is technology now And I'm sure the Jazz are doing it. Colleges are doing it. I see Utah State do it all the time. Now, I don't know how many decisions are made off of that, but they've got a little bit of a technology, like a little chip that goes into the waistband of the shorts. And it will track everything about how much energy is being exerted by that individual player, how many miles are being run, the speed in which they are running. It tracks everything. The scientific background in this is crazy. And there are teams that will make judgments on playing time throughout the course of a game based on how much energy is being exerted based on these mathematic inputs. Now, look, I don't know if the Jazz do that. I assume they do. I don't know how much attention goes into it and how that affects playing time, but I do think it does a little bit. That's why Will Hardy said that was my call and my call only. And he went and said, I alerted to the health and sciences that I was going to do that. He didn't ask for their advice because they would probably say, don't do that. But he's like, look, I think all players can do that. Now, not on a regular basis, but when it's crunch time and we need somebody to go 48 minutes, I think the NBA early 20s, NBA body can handle that. And sometimes I've talked to a lot of trainers that say, if anything, we're hurting players by being too, I don't want to say soft, but we're catering too much and we're worried too much about rest. When in reality, if you accelerate the process a little bit more, make them play through a little bit more adversity, sometimes that body is able to withstand injuries more if you go through that than you will if you play it a little on the softer side, a little bit more on the conservative side. I mean, I've seen a lot of physical trainers out there say, look, if anything, we've gone too far one way instead of pushing too far the other way.
Well, and as much as we've seen the sciences of this and the math of this really dictate playing time and all that type of stuff, how about the amount of Achilles injuries that we're seeing? Those are through the roof. The amount of these things hardly, if it doesn't feel like, and maybe they did, I don't just quite remember, but it doesn't seem like they were happening like this in the 80s and 90s. I just don't quite remember it being like this. And I get it. These athletes are a lot. I mean, because of the weight training and all that stuff, they're a lot stronger. But for some reason, I don't know. They're having these Achilles injuries. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Jay Stevens is going to join us coming up in about 15 minutes from now. Kalani Sitake will join us coming up at 2:30. We'll talk about his class that he's brought in at BYU. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on back. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you're all having a tremendous day. I'm here in lovely Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we are in Old Town, Lloyd, so I do think that there might be some food options available to me. It is a late tip-off. By the way,
real quick, you still have that list of places, right? Do you, or did you just delete it?
Well, that was like 5 years ago, so no, okay. I do not. I mean, if you have it, send it over, and I will be glad. So I've got, the game does not start until 9 o'clock tonight. 9 o'clock. Love these late games. And then I've got a 6 a.m. flight out tomorrow morning, so I can get back and hang out with Lloyd. And by the way, tomorrow we'll be at RGS. See, I don't mess around when it comes to RGS. Tim and the crew, love those dudes. And it's been too long since we've seen Tim, so we will be down there coming up tomorrow. And then on Friday we'll be at Bar W Beef. And then I get to drive to Laramie to call a Utah State-Wyoming game. So
okay, I found this, by the way. I found the list, and I am sending it to you right now. You got several places. Hopefully, they're all still in business. You'll have to look and see. Boom. You got the places. We'll see if you actually come through and do what you should have done a long time ago.
I don't know if they have a spearmint rhino here in Albuquerque.
Okay. Stop. I'm not the one that went there. Wasn't me.
Did you put the same place on here twice?
No.
Oh, no. There's
El Pinto and one's El Patio.
Wow. I don't think there will ever be any confusion with that. That's crazy.
And the range could be questionable. I don't know.
Is that the gun range? No. Oh, just the range. Okay.
Just the range. Go get yourself some good, maybe even order it Christmas style. I don't know. Get yourself some sopapillas and really just go to town on some good New Mexican food.
All right, you know what? I've got some time after the show, between the show and heading over to the arena. I've got a little bit of time. So if these are close by, I will go to one of these.
Okay. And pull it up on get your reviews and see what they're saying and go choose which one's the best, because I don't know which one's the best on these.
Yeah.
Pick yourself a good one.
I'm on it. We'll make it happen. All right. So, by the way, how about Lindsay Vonn? Have you heard this story about Lindsay Vonn?
Oh,
She will be competing in the Olympics with a shredded ACL. And, I mean, look, that's really, really incredible. Now, we need to get maybe a doc. Maybe we call somebody up at University of Utah Health. Remember, they'll help you out, uofuhealth.org. If she's straight away, maybe obviously she's gotten enough consultation out there that she knows she can do it at a high level. But I've always heard when you got it, and I've never dealt with an ACL, thank goodness, but it's the side-to-side motion, from what I understand, that really gives you the grief when it comes to ACL. If she's just going beeline down a hill, that's great, but there's a lot of side-to-side movement that she's involved in that just makes it hard to believe that she's going to be able to pull this off. But
she's pushing off on those turns. Like, she will be pushing off on each knee to make those turns.
But make no mistake, when we talk about gutty athletes and gutty performances, to do this, and look, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of Toradol coursing through those veins to help with pain management. And God bless her, there's not enough on the planet that would get me to do what she's going to do. But if she medals, I'm not even saying gold medal, if she medals, period, I think that's one of the most remarkable accomplishments in all of sports.
I will not say it's quite Tiger Woods-esque in the U.S. Open going against Rocco Mediate because that one went extra holes.
And that was an ACL too, wasn't it?
That was, I believe, he actually had a broken stick. I think there was something that was broken, fractured on his knee. I don't think it was just an ACL. I think there was a little bit, if I remember right, I think there was a little bit more to it. And so that would be up there with that.
Maybe that relationship ended so badly that she's trying to one-up Tiger. She's like, you played golf. Oh, okay. So you walked on a course. Try a Super G, Tiger, with a shredded ACL, and then get back to me. Show you. I enjoy the Olympics, okay? And the Olympics to me is, especially the Winter Olympics. Now, I'm dialed in on the hockey, especially now. There's two things that lead me really all in on hockey. Number one, obviously the Utah Mammoth. But number two, the Four Nations and how crazy that got last year. So this year, when it comes to Olympics, I am all in. Team USA, Team Canada. I just want to fast forward to that and let them play a best of five. You know what? Forget about everybody else. I want Team USA, Team Canada, best of five. Let's go. That's what I'm really fired up about. Everything else, the Olympics to me is casual viewing. Like, I love turning on the TV and seeing some random curling match and then being all invested into it. And then it's over, and then you forget about curling for another 4 years. But that's what the Olympics are to me, is it's more about just rooting for some Joe Schmuckatelli who's got his 15 minutes of fame. You're never going to hear from him. You've never heard from him before. You'll never hear from him again. But on that stage, on that day, he becomes a superstar. And that's what's really cool about the Olympics, and that's what I'm fired up about. But make no mistake, it's all about hockey for me. And I cannot wait, after what we've seen and what we've learned about hockey over the last year and a half and what we saw from the Four Nations. Oh, yeah, let's go. And I want to see fistfights 9 seconds into a game again, because the Four Nations set the bar really, really high for all of us to really get a kick out of what could be coming down the pipeline. All right. Speaking of that, I want to talk rosters, Team USA rosters, with the man himself. Jay Stevens joins us next, right here on 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jay Stevens, hockey insider, overall good dude. All right, Jay, a lot of people say, pour some sugar on me, best Def Leppard song. No, I will always go Photograph.
Oh, man. Well, it's great that you're bringing that up right now because I'm going next week to see Def Leppard in Vegas. But I actually have a Hysteria lyric tattooed on my arm, so I'm going to go with Hysteria.
Yes. Nice. Good for you. How you doing, by the way?
I am doing great. It's hard not to be doing great. The Mammoth are on fire. The Olympics are about to start. I mean, hockey's just in full bloom right now.
I'm telling you, the Four Nations, the byproduct of that has got me really fired up for the Olympics. And I've always enjoyed hockey in the Olympics, but the addition of the Mammoth a year and a half ago and really getting knee-deep in hockey and then watching all heck break loose in the Four Nations last year, I am fired up for this year's Olympics.
Yeah, me too. And it's I've had some pretty interesting conversations recently with people about, the difference between the Four Nations and the Olympics because, the IIHF really does call games differently and they kind of shy away from the physical play. And a lot of people think that USA-Canada matchup, if it comes, won't be as physical. And I'm like, I think it's going to be physical. I think they'll take the risk of some of the penalties and they'll be throwing the body around quite a bit. I think it's going to live up to the Four Nations and maybe surpass that. It's just sad that we can't see Russia in this. I wish they'd get their act together so we could see their athletes because that's just another, they've got so many talented athletes, especially in hockey, that I'd love to see those matchups as well.
So we had, and I forget who it was, but we had an NHL writer come on, and he mentioned he didn't like the way that Team USA built their roster. He wanted it to be a little bit more offensive-driven, didn't necessarily like the emphasis on defense and the goaltending. But then I talked to Bill Armstrong, and Bill's like, that's exactly the way I would have built it if he was in charge. Where are you at on this year's roster?
I was upset that they left Robertson off of the roster, and then I listened to Bill Guerin talk about how he built the roster and why he built the roster, and Canada's kind of in the same boat. They basically built the roster to play against each other, anticipating that real physical matchup. So they went with guys that had international experience, and not just junior level, but actual adult level international experience, and that advanced far into international playoffs, and it had real physical games too. It's one of those things, and I bring it up all the time about how the Utah Mammoth are built, and they're small and they're fast. But when you get to playoffs or when you get to international games and you're playing for a gold medal, big guys throwing the body, it's just like a boxing match like we've talked about before. They're going to hit you all through the first period. They're going to hit you all through the second period. So the point, when you get to the third period, you're not playing those offensive fancy games that you wanted to because you've taken so many body blows. So you want guys that have experienced that before, know how to deal with it, know how to play through it. So I think USA and Canada built their rosters exactly the same way to basically battle each other. There's plenty of offensive firepower out there. When you see Clayton Keller on the fourth line, who's one of the best passers in the league, you realize that there's got to be a lot of other talent in there to put him on a fourth line, right?
How much can this help a player in their NHL career playing these types of games in this type of environment?
It's definitely a way to gain more experience and to build more confidence. It could go the other way too. You're really being held out with the best of the best of the best. And we always know that that's what the NHL is, but when you just take the best player out of, off every team, it's almost like an NHL all-star team, put their country flag on their chest, they're going to play even harder, and it makes it harder to play against. It teaches you those long-time lessons that you can't get anywhere else. And if you adapt and overcome that, you have way more confidence going back into the NHL. And this is going to sound absurd, but the NHL feels a little bit slower when you come back from the Olympics. And you can see guys, that have played in the Olympics. Yeah, you think they're going to be more tired, but honestly, they've played at that elevated level with that elevated pressure. Every game's basically a playoff game. And they come back more confident and more comfortable playing in the NHL.
Jay Stevens joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We'll get back to international play, but we got to talk about the Mammoth. Had that 2-game skid after the heater, and I think, was there a little bit of a hangover after that Carolina game that kind of bled into that Dallas game?
Yeah, it definitely could have been. You'd like to think you'd build off of that game, but you do have such an emotional high that it's hard to go out the next night and play again. Not to mention they were playing against a Dallas team that's really figuring themselves out right now, and they're tough to play against, and they have a decent power play, and that's really the difference of that Dallas game. I thought the Mammoth played well. It just comes down to specialty teams, and Utah has the worst power play in the league, and Dallas doesn't, and they popped the one power play goal, and then they got the other empty netter, and they just got to figure out this power play, and I think the Utah Mammoth will be a lot more dangerous.
How hard is it to recover from a game like Carolina? Because, I mean, 3 goals in 2 minutes, and to come away at one point leading, 4-2 with 2 minutes left and not coming away with a point, period, that's a tough pill to swallow. Yeah,
it's a heartbreaker, right? And you had all the momentum, and you were riding that huge wave, and then all of a sudden, what you had done just a few nights ago happens to you, or vice versa. That's the thing about the NHL. You have so many games coming up, and you play so many in a week that it's hard to celebrate a big win, and you definitely can't get caught looking back on a bad loss. But, they're humans, so of course they're going to, and they're going to get skittish, and they're going to worry about, do we have a big enough lead, or, just questioning their own abilities sometimes. But, these are professional athletes. They play a lot of games in a short amount of time, and this is just part of that preparation that Bill Armstrong always talks about. He wants them in these games. And in the long run, losing a game like that or winning a game like that, the games that they won where they came from behind, and the games where they lost where they had the lead, that'll teach them those lessons going into next season. This season, the goal of the Utah Mammoth was to make the playoffs. And, the sights look pretty firm on that. It looks like the Utah Mammoth are going to squeak into the playoffs. And then, obviously, next year you're going to want to be 7 points better than you were this year and go further into the playoffs. So as bad as it is to see as a fan, those lessons for these players, especially the younger players on the Utah Mammoth, that could go a long way in the next couple seasons.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, too, because when I talked to Bill Armstrong about it, I mentioned, hey, how do you put that behind you? How do you forget about it? He's like, we don't want to forget about it. We want those scars to really set in, and we learn from those scars, and we reference those scars, and that it's part of the growing and maturation process. Not something we wanted to happen, but if it did happen, let's learn from it, and let's always reference it and be part of our DNA going forward.
Yeah, let it happen now, right? Instead of late in the playoffs when you actually have a chance at maybe winning the cup or winning your first series of the playoffs. Let those mistakes and those lessons happen now when you can afford it during the regular season rather than later. And it's just one of those crazy things with the NHL, too. If you look back at how many times, like with Tampa Bay, Detroit back in the day, all these teams that win the Stanley Cup were either in the conference finals or in the Stanley Cup final the year before and lost. And then they take all those lessons with them into the next season and then win the cup. So it really does work out that way. It always sounds like, that's just lip service, somebody saying things like, we're learning every game. But if you look back in the history of the NHL, the teams that have won have suffered some pretty bad losses, including Stanley Cup losses. So it's legit.
Jay Stevens right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. But overall, this team has played extremely well. Do you concern yourself a little bit with this long break, losing a little momentum, or is it just so important for guys to heal up and get ready for this stretch run?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say which one's better. But where the Utah Mammoth are positioned right now, I think they can keep the momentum that they've had. And more importantly, for the Mammoth, getting Cooley back and getting Kerfoot back and be able to balance the roster out. We've had the Mammoth had a ton of people step up, and we've been able to watch Yamamoto, who's been in and out of the lineup, come in and just prove that he really belongs to be in the NHL. And he's put a lot of points on the board. You saw Daniel Boot got sent back down to the AHL today, so he's going to get some more experience during the break. And, Sergachev's down. He's going to get more experience during the break playing in the AHL. So I think these guys are going to grow, and then the guys that are all banged up are going to heal, and that's only good things for the Mammoth. I think at this point I would take the healing over keeping the momentum going. I think they pick up right where they left off, and we'll see, a really positive team. We'll know right away because they start after the Olympic break with the Avalanche, and the Avalanche have been suffering a little bit, but that'll be a welcome back to the NHL for sure.
How is it difficult when you've got a star player who obviously needs to be showcased and get his opportunities, but he's been out of the lineup for so long? Is there a little bit of an adjustment period trying to work him back into the lineup?
Yeah, of course there's going to be, but it's funny, I see it online. People are like, I don't know, we're winning so well. What do you do? Well, you put him back in the lineup because he's one of your top guys. There's really no question. You just put him right back where he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be our second line center, and that's right where you want Cooley to be. Then you figure out who you want centering. It's going to be Schmaltz, is going to be with Keller and Krause up front. So you just see everybody else move down, and maybe Stenlund is in the stands, or maybe somebody else, a guy like Stenlund has to come and not play center and will be on a right wing, and you see O'Brien in the stands. But, yeah, you do everything you can to get Cooley back in the game immediately, get him as comfortable as possible immediately, and I'd expect to see him playing, 20 minutes a night right off the bat, and, watching him get those points back. And he's missed a lot of games. He's still one of our top 7 scorers.
That's crazy to think about. How cool was it with Schmaltz getting a hat trick the other night?
Yeah, so cool to see. It's funny because, like I mentioned, Yamamoto, and then because he's at the end of his contract, and so is Schmaltz, as everybody knows. Everybody wants to get him re-signed, and Schmaltz is just putting in the work to making sure he gets a good deal. And that, him and Keller have such a long history of that chemistry together. And Schmaltz is proving it every night. A couple hat tricks this season. He's just saying, hey, sign me. I'm going to stay here. And Keller's going to keep setting me up, and I'm going to keep paying it off. So it's been fun to watch, and he's definitely proving his worth.
Do you think that's a priority to this organization to re-sign him?
100%. It has to be. I mean, again, Keller counts on Schmaltz. And Keller, a lot of times, you can tell he really appreciates what Barrett Hayton does as well, the little things without the puck, the positioning, the way he can draw defense away. Schmaltz does a lot of those things too. And it's funny to see. They're playing with Krause tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how that Keller-Schmaltz-Krause line does, because I always like to see him with Hayton, because Hayton and Schmaltz seem to do those little things and create space and let Keller find those guys, and Schmaltz just seems to be the perfect finisher for that. So, yeah, I mean, it's got to be their number one priority going into, I would say, even the second half of the season. I think they'd want to get him extended before he becomes a free agent.
You see Tej have the big night, 6-point night the other night, and WHL Player of the Year. Is he on pace to where he needs to be at this point in his career? Yeah,
100%. Exciting to see him playing. I'm one of those guys that goes home and geeks out and watches. I watch AHL games and I watch major junior games and get to see a guy like Tej play. And Baudouin has been playing really well. And Denoyer, and Denoyer is playing with Gabe Smith, who's also a draft pick. And just seeing all the Mammoth draft picks just tear up their junior leagues has been really exciting. And you can't mention the Mammoth prospects without talking about Michael Hrabel, who's playing at UMass and just having a phenomenal season. So I expect to see some roster changes next season. I don't expect to see Iginla or Denoyer playing for the Mammoth next year. I think they take a whole season in the AHL to cook a little bit. I could see Gabe Smith breaking the lineup, and I could see Baudouin breaking the lineup.
All right, so I saw you tweet out something, and I've kind of meant to ask you about this and try to learn more. So the scoring setup in the NHL, you get obviously 2 points for the win, but if it's a loss in overtime, you still get a point. Do you think losing teams should still be rewarded with a point in overtime?
Yeah, it's funny. I got tagged in that so many times that I had to figure it out. I've never really thought about it that much. It's just been how it's been, and I've always been fine with it because you see a team really fight back. If you see a team fight back and earn that overtime, game, and then they go into overtime when they lose. You'd like to see them rewarded, right? Like, you think that's something. Yeah. And so I've never minded it. And now people doing the math and who would be where and talking about Vegas losing so many games and they're still in the playoff hunt even though they're losing all these games in overtime. I think they have 14 overtime losses or something crazy like that. I still don't mind it. I think because the game's exciting and those overtime points mean something and you fight for those. And I just don't mind seeing a team get rewarded for it, especially when you see teams come back from 2-0 and then still lose in overtime. It seems right to reward them, but I'm also fine with them not. I guess it just depends on where you're at in your life with that. I enjoy watching hockey. I enjoy watching teams really fight back for that extra point. And then a lot of people saying that it should just keep going 3-on-3 and no shootout. I disagree with that, especially with the NHL, the way they're running the 3-on-3 right now. It comes like a soccer match where possession is everything, and they'll circle back and leave the zone. That was such a no-no growing up. Like old school hockey, you never lost the zone. It was a battle. You took that ice and you keep that ice. And it's just funny, so many people getting so technical with overtime, and I like it just the way it is. How about you?
I do too. I frankly I have no problem with it. It surprised me a little bit because I thought, when I first started, watching hockey, I just, you knew the scoring was a little different, but you just grew up in a world where it was 3 for a win and 0 for a loss, and to go 2-1. Frankly, I do think it's okay to have a consolation prize walking away from a game that you fought your butt off to get into overtime, and even a team that may have had a collapse like. If you're Utah and that game goes into overtime against Carolina, you still lose it. You're like, all right, well, that sucks, but we still got a point out of it. And so I think that makes the end of games, end of regulation really matter more because teams realize, look, if we can just get this to OT or if we can hold it to OT, we still come away with a point. So I think it makes those end of regulations really, really matter.
Yeah, especially in your conference, right? Like if you can keep a point, you don't want to give both points to a conference opponent. So if you can battle back and at least get 1 point out of that game where you've done everything you can, I think it's. But then again, that clogs up your conference. So again, I see both sides of it. I like it the way it's at. I like to see guys get rewarded for hard work and comeback wins, but on the flip side of that, you're still rewarding the guys that had the comeback loss even.
So, all right, Bill Armstrong listed he has Team USA. Now, I don't know if he just said this because he knows he's on radio in Salt Lake City, but he listed Team USA as his favorite going into the Olympics. Are you prepared to do that, or do you still have to lean Canada?
No, I'm USA all the way, and I would say that they were my favorite even if they forgot to build a roster. I would still figure they were, even if they had the roster just all AHL guys. But no, I really do I like the team. I like the way they built it. I think they could use that scoring punch with Robertson. He's one of the just most gifted scorers in the NHL right now. A ton of fun to watch. USA just looks good, and I think when you start looking at the Tkachuk brothers, the funny thing is I really would have liked to have seen Keller get a chance to play with both the Tkachuks since they grew up playing together. They're best friends. And you got to imagine there's a lot of chemistry there. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point you see that during the Olympics, just to see how it works at this level. But I think, it's basically still the Four Nations roster. They made a few changes to it, but I think they made it a little bit better. I'm going to say the U.S. takes gold. You got to Canada. We keep talking U.S. and Canada, but, Finland and Sweden have been doing great too. So there are other teams we got to worry about, but I'm going U.S.
Well, yeah, that was my next question. If you're not able to take Canada or U.S. and pick a winner, who do you take?
Oh, man. I'm going to have to go with Sweden. They're just so gifted. Finland's really come a long way. And, we can't look past Czechia either. Czechia has a really strong lineup too. Good goaltending, as we know, as Veggie fans. I honestly don't think Veggie is going to be their starter. But I think the Swedes probably would have to be the favorite right there. But, yeah, I think it's U.S., Canada, and then probably Sweden or Czechia would probably be third and fourth.
Awesome. Hey, Jay, you're the best, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Go USA.
Let's do it. Jay Stevens does tremendous work, host of the Utah Puck Report on KSLSports.com. All right, gather around the radio, folks. Kalani Sitake joins us next, right here on The Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This here's a jam for all the fellas. Try to do what those ladies.
Yeah, I know we're all reeling a bit. Hans Olsen has moved on into the corporate world, and we will eventually get ourselves a co-host. It's going to happen. Until then, we got a bunch of people rolling in that we're going to work in over the next few days. Tim Lacomb's going to join us in studio for the next couple days, and then we got a bunch of other guests that are going to be hanging out with us as well. But it's time to talk a little BYU football. Kalani Sitake, kind enough to hang out with us. He is the head coach of BYU. Coach, how are you?
What's going on, Scotty?
I'm doing well. I'm missing my guy a little bit. I'm not going to lie. He's a big presence, and it's a tough role to fill.
That's true, but you probably have more food now.
I don't know, man. He was getting way into the health kick near the end of it. So he tried to drop some lbs, true. And I don't know, but apparently he still will steal food off of Greg Wrubell's plate every now and then. Hey, when do you get a chance to really look back on a season? Because now, you know, your season ends, the bowl game ends, and it's right into portal season, and you have very little time to decompress. Is there a moment where you can look back and really appreciate the great season you had?
Yeah, I think the moment to do all that was basically going into the bowl game, the prep, seeing all the seniors that spent so much time and energy and a lot of their effort to help the program come along. And then, you know, just that's when I've been able to reflect on it. And then that's why I think in the bowl game, just go have as much fun as we can, because we owe it to those guys, you know, to show our appreciation and to have a great time playing the game. And then, fortunately for us, we were able to come out with a victory from that game in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And just really just honored that I get to be around such wonderful young men, and especially the senior class. They've done an amazing job with our program.
You know, I remember Kelly Papinga playing a year up at Utah State and then going to BYU and seeing his career develop. Did you feel pretty quickly when Jay Hill was talking to the University of Michigan that Kelly was going to be the guy?
I did, and I knew about K-Pop back when he was a player, but then just watching him, we were able to stay in touch during his coaching career, and I've just really, really, more than anything, just seeing him and his reputation that he had as a development type coach and also a recruiter, and then being able to have him here with me and seeing his leadership and just seeing his style, I really like it. I think we are aligned in so many ways when it comes to leadership and when it comes to a philosophy of football, especially here at BYU. And so it was an easy transition, easy decision for me to make. Obviously, I had to do my due diligence and then listen to and talk to others that were interested. But when it's all said and done, he was the first one that came to mind, and he was the one that made the most sense. And I'm actually really, really happy that he's been able to take the reins as the defensive coordinator and to work in a collaboration with the group that we have in that room. He's been able. I think he's going to be able to do a great job of building what Jay Hill has been able to do here with what Gennaro has done here in the defensive backfield. I think he's done an amazing job hiring and organizing a staff that's going to take us to even new heights and defensively do some really good things. And so K-Pop's the right guy. He has all my support, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I've been really pleased with what he's already been able to do since getting the job.
Well, you guys have been so great defensively over the last several years, and I know that you want to obviously maintain that success and take it to another level. How much do you encourage him to put his own fingerprints on this as well? Because obviously there's a system in place that's been successful, but you also want him to expand his horizons a little bit and put his touch on it.
Of course. I think he's got to be his own person. We don't want him to be another version of someone else. And so as long as he can be real with himself and do what he likes, I do know that he doesn't he doesn't want to do it all by himself. So he understands the room that he's in. There's a reason why we have great people in that room that he can work with. And then he also knows how to complement things. I mean, it's what he did as a coach throughout his whole career and what he's done even as a coordinator with special teams. And I think he's going to be able to do it really, really well as a defensive coordinator. His leadership style is unique. And I think all he has to do is just be his best self every day, and we're going to be able to benefit from that. I mean, I love the person that he is. I love the husband that he is, the father that he is to his girls, and that's all going to play into what he can do for this program and what he can do in his new role as defensive coordinator. He's going to do a great job there, and I have a lot of confidence in him.
Well, you mentioned the support around him. Gary Anderson's not going anywhere. Chad Kahaha's kind of upgraded his role with the team as well. Those are some incredible defensive minds that you've got there to support him as well. That's a great safety blanket for him to have, and a great, and yourself included, somebody to bounce ideas off and really help in his development.
There's a lot of great ideas there, and there's like I said, there's great things that Jay did for us, and so it'd be foolish for us to just think that we're going to just kind of start brand new and do our own thing, and that's not what Kelly wants. K-Pop wants to build on it, but we've also got new players in the mix. We've got some guys that we brought in from high school and some guys that we brought in from off the mission. We also have a lot of returning players that can really help on our defense, and then we complement them with the ones that we got from the transfer portal. So there's going to be great competition. We just need to figure out what's the best scheme that we can do. And you look at the imprint on the defense, it's got all kinds of influences, whether it's from Kyle Whittingham, Gary Anderson, Bronco Mendenhall, Rocky Long, Dave Aranda, who they've worked with at Wisconsin and Utah State. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going into this program. That it's just not just one coaching tree. It's a combination of it all, and these guys are experts at making it, applying it to the talent that we have and the skill that we have on the team currently on the roster.
Gennaro leaves some tough shoes to fill. Tell us a little bit about Lewis Walker and what you expect out of him, and what you impressed you and Kelly when you had a chance to chat with him.
Well, I know Lewis on a personal level. I mean, he played for me when I was a coordinator at Utah. He's a young man that his family moved from California to Salt Lake City when he was in high school. He went to Judge Memorial High, and maybe was overlooked a little bit in recruiting. And he earned a scholarship to go to University of Hawaii, and went out there and got to eat some poke and hang out with the Islanders and play some football. And then after a couple of years of playing there, he made the decision to transfer back home and play at Utah. And so I've been able to see him in just bet on himself and then even know that there's a recruiting mistake, that we made a mistake, and that he still had the humility to come back and to want to be part of our program. And I loved coaching him, and then seeing him progress from a player to a coach, and seeing the things that he's been able to do at a high level. I mean, we just got him from North Dakota State. He was returning to North Dakota State after having a stint there earlier in his career. He's been a coordinator at the FCS level too, so he's done some amazing things in the last decade that he's been able to coach, and I'm excited, man. He knows our system. He knows what we expect from our cornerbacks. He's going to do an amazing job there, and then you complement that with combine it with what we have from Demario Warren, Demo, with our passing game coordinator and our safeties coach. It's going to be a great dynamic to work with. Demo was a head coach. He comes from Boise State, where he coached the corners there, and he's coached a lot of different positions. He's been a coordinator. He was at Southern Utah for over a decade. I mean, 6 of those as the head coach, and he was a coordinator at Southern Utah when Gennaro was his corners coach. And so, he's been there. He's helped mentor Gennaro. So we have a good dynamic in the backfield, a great front to work with. As you mentioned before, Gary Anderson's involved. Chad Kahaha, who's coached a lot of sacks in college football, and a lot of sacks that are being made in the NFL right now. And then you have Sione Poha, who actually made some plays and played in the NFL and started. And that combination on the staff overall is going to be really, really good.
You talk about the culture of your coaching staff and finding guys that fit that culture. Your locker room has developed such an impressive culture over the last several years as well. When you're out there trying to recruit, and you have such a small window in that transfer portal to figure out who you want to bring in, obviously talent's the most important thing, but do you feel like you have enough time to evaluate the player as a person to see if they'll be a good fit inside that locker room when it's kind of a mad dash to get the best player available?
Of course, I think there's enough that you can do as a coach and to find out who this person really is. everybody wants to put their wants to impress with what they do when you meet them in person, but it's actually we go in a deep dive on who they are, and I'm always interested in listen, these guys are young men, so they're not all that perfect, but you got to see their work ethic. You get to see the type of sons that they are, the brothers that they are, the teammates that they are, what they do in school, how they interact with their classmates, and even how they interact with the opposition. So when all those things are considered, you also have to see the potential that they can do, not just on the field, but also in life. And so I just want to coach a bunch of good kids, and I want to be able to coach with a bunch of good people that are with me, and that's the goal, is to have them be good-natured, and then at the same time try to find ways that we all stay and hold each other accountable, but we all stay humble and be the best versions of ourselves, and that's the goal. And we're all human, so there's a chance that we can all become entitled, including myself, and it's good to have good friends that are there that you just don't. The relationship that we have with our players it's a great one, but I don't want it to be like, hey, I say you do. It's like I'm willing to do it. If I could, I would love to backpedal, but I can't. But maybe you could do it for me, and we work together and collaborate together, and it can be a beautiful thing.
Well, I think your best recruiting job was your locker room that you kept, for the most part, in place. What does that say about your culture? Obviously, there's a financial aspect to it, and I don't necessarily want to get into that. But to have a culture where I'm sure these guys are getting DMs and phone calls from all across the country saying, hey, join us, hop in that portal, we got a spot for you. But to have these key players say, no, I want to come back to Provo. I want to continue to build what we built there. What does that say about that culture inside that locker room?
Well, I think it goes right back. There's a lot of variables that go into it, a lot of factors that go into the culture. It's not just one thing. But when you look at it, I will start by saying the players in the locker room, the leadership that we have on our team, that's the key. Those guys, they want to run it back, as they've been saying. They want to do it again. They know that they're a part of something just way bigger than themselves, and then they have a platform that they want to just be able to help others. Man, I'm just so lucky that I get to coach great young men that are great leaders and that are great in this brotherhood that we call BYU football, and then they can see that there's just way more to it than just football. There's a lot of different things that they can do in life, and they can enhance and exalt others around them. And so it's great for me to coach these guys and be around them, but that's probably the number one factor. Then you put in the fans, the interaction, you put in the staff and the coaches, the relationships that we have with alumni and everybody involved, and it's really tough to say no to. And I know, I mean, I was in the same position as a lot of them. So it's and once you just see it for yourself, it's a beautiful thing, man. I'm going to tell you that. I wish I knew all the answers to it, but I would guess those are the factors that matter the most. And compensation comes in a lot of different ways. A lot of people want to talk about money and things like that. Well, what's the price for having people you can really count on to be friends for the rest of your life? People that actually want you to do well. What I love about our team is that when somebody scores or makes a big play, look at his teammates and how they react to it. Even the ones that are on the sideline, they're even happier than the person that's actually doing it. And I don't know if that even comes down to anything specific other than I get to coach great young men that are raised by awesome families, and that's I'm the one that gets benefit from it.
Coach, appreciate it. Enjoy this recruiting class and spring ball. Look forward to catching up with you very soon.
Scotty, you keep having fun, man. And I like that Scotty and Friends thing. That's pretty cool. And then as long as you keep bringing in the oldies, because we're old now, young MC, keep doing that, then you'll always have a great fan base to follow you. Love you, brother. Thank you.
Hey, I always know you're back at you, Coach. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. There he is, Kalani Sitake, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hard-pressed to find a better human being on the planet than that guy. All right, and by the way, good poll on the young MC, Lloyd. You knew Kalani was going to be all about that. That was
maybe a little MC Hammer.
That was a layup on your part, but
still
smart. Yeah, but MC's a little cliche. MC Hammer, young MC, that's awesome. You're on a mission and you're wishing someone could cure your lonely condition. All right, we'll take a break. Come back. Wrap this bad boy up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Yeah, I don't know. As we rework the show, Lloyd just said in my ear, I don't know if this is our closing song.
No, it's definitely
not. You may
not.
be right on that one.
No, it doesn't feel like it. I just grabbed. I was like, no, this isn't working. I don't know what to do with my hands right now.
No pun intended. Yeah, I get it. I know, and it just feels weird that we're not playing a little Starship, wrapping up the show. But we'll figure it out. By the way, you've got an opportunity. By the way, if you listen to JJ and Alex, they're going to give out a keyword. Every show's giving out keywords, and it's your chance to win a 75-inch TV. Now, there's some big events coming up this weekend, right? You've got certainly opening ceremonies, some big game coming up on Sunday that we're not allowed to say by name, but you know what I'm talking about. So all you have to do is be listening. Coming up during JJ and Alex, you'll hear a keyword. You go to ksl.com/contest, enter that keyword. That gives you an extra chance to win, and then we'll continue to do that throughout the week right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Fun show. Remember, if you missed any of it, it's available for you on podcast form. Just search Scotty G on your podcasting platform of choice, and you will have all the interviews, all the insight, everything downloaded directly to your phone, tablet, whatever you're using. And if you just want a specific interview, you just want to hear the Bronco Mendenhall interview, the Kalani Sitake interview, Jay Stevens, whatever the case is, you can also just download individually as well. We got you covered. However you want to consume the show or consume the content, we're here for you. We got your back. All right, Utah State basketball. It is a late tip-off, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip-off here in the Pit in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We'll have all the play-by-play for you, and then back with you tomorrow on the show. Again, thanks for joining us. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. JJ and Alex coming up next.